Considering home security? Consider this. For 140 years, ADT has helped stop more crime than any other home security company. The yard sign isn't just a sign, it's a line in the sand. It's no wonder 5 times more people choose ADT to protect their homes. Visit ADT.com to learn more. For license information and terms and conditions, visit ADT.com.
Back in Better Than Ever, Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. 2 of our best friends over the many years of this show are going to join us in this hour. Mark Schlereth in just a second, and then Tom Izzo coming up at the bottom of this hour as he gets set Michigan State and Duke.
Well, that's
tonight.
the thing. It's the best of both worlds. We can reminisce with both these guys, but then talk sports. You know, Mark's doing a great job. You know, where Fox calling games. He does fantastic with that.
I cannot tell you.
Yeah.
Every time that they go to his game, I watch most of the NFL Sunday on Red Zone, as I know you do too.
Yep.
Every time they go to his game, I get excited.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so excited to hear him talking, and he's working with Dick Stockton, and he's terrific.
Doing a great job. I think that, Cincy and Tennessee this past
That's right.
Sunday.
They did. They had that game. And
so that's great. And then, obviously, Izzo, you know, with how long he's been on this show, and they have, obviously, a monster game tonight. So we're getting the best of both worlds with these guys.
The year that I had to do the dance, and I've seen this now a trillion times.
Right.
It's one of the things that I've saved. That my last words before I did the dance were, I blame you, Tom Izzo, because that was the year that Michigan State played Duke in the NCAA tournament. You had Duke. I had Michigan State.
Right.
That game decided the wager, and that was the year Izzo famously came on and said his son picked Duke to win that game, which was pretty funny if you think about it. And then as far as the LeBron and Cantor stuff, as we get set to bring Stink in here, we'll get more into that because it's not as simple as we made it sound. But at the end of the day, it can be as simple as it's never the wrong thing to do to stand up for your teammate.
No, that's exactly right. And I think in a general sense, too, when we asked Mark, who lived his life on a football field with me, you always go and defend your teammate, even though there are times when his team, he has always had the great line when his teammate, usually it was Shannon Sharp, talked a little too much. It's like, you know, you're writing a check that I got to cash right now. But either way, you're defending your teammate.
All right. I have been looking forward to this. We retired this song.
Yep.
And this song was never going to be played again on Mike and Mike. Mm-hmm. But for this occasion, it is our delight to bring Mark Schlereth back to the conversation the only right way.
You know, he's moving right now.
Oh, yeah. He always gets that fun look on his face. I wish we could see it. He's now an NFL analyst at Fox. Our buddy Stink is back in Better Than Ever. Good morning, Mark Schlereth.
Oh, good morning. You know, that just warms my heart, guys. It warms my heart. Thank you so much. Great to be with you guys. I miss you. I miss both you guys so much. Miss the whole crew over there.
Yeah, listen, we miss you as well, and we'd love to be able to play that song again. We got another surprise here in a little bit as far as something to play. But first, you know, what you're doing now, calling games, how, you know, you're doing a lot of studio work, obviously, when you were here, but calling games every week, how different has that been? It looks like you're having a ball, and you sound great.
Oh, thank you. It is so, well, you did it forever, Mike. There's so much preparation work that goes into it. And then, I'm telling you, I reach out to everybody. I talk to Gruden. I talk to all kinds of guys. I called Troy Aikman about it. Because when you're in the booth, there's so much to look at. You know, you can look at the game live. You can look at your replay monitor. You can look at your regular monitor. You're talking to your producer. You're trying to almost produce the game while you're watching the game. And there's just so much eye candy and so many things flying around. And the preparation work it's amazing how much goes into it. But I am having a blast. I think one thing that I've just kind of learned from this is as you're in the stadium and as you're at the practice facility and as you're talking to players, it gives you a different perspective again. It almost makes you gives you a better sense of empathy for how hard this game truly is. And sometimes when you're in the studio, it's easy to throw away a comment and say, oh, the guy, you know, he stinks, he's not playing very well, whatever. But when you're there, it just reminds you of how hard the game is and how hard these guys work and, you know, how much they put in, how much they pour into the game. And you can lose a little bit of that empathy when you're in studio and you're not actually there at the site. So I've really enjoyed, you know, being there, talking to the coaches, getting the information, but just really watching the guys play and watching them work. And that's something that's really been eye-opening again for me. It's been a blast to be in the stadiums.
So we haven't had a chance to check in with you really through this football season, or at least not for quite some time. So as we sort of work our way here through November, Stink, give us just a couple of top-line things that are standing out for you. We see the Eagles right now having the enormous season they are. Brady at the age of 40 doing what he's doing on the opposite end of the spectrum. The Giants, it felt like almost had a mutiny and a revolt and all the other things that are going on. What are the top-line things that have your eye right now?
Yeah, no doubt. All those things are amazing. Tom Brady and the New England Patriots stayed here in Denver after they shellacked the Broncos. And, I've been wanting to go down to Colorado Springs, but I'm afraid that Brady still has that restraining order on me because, I've got a man crush on him. So I got to be careful about traveling south to Colorado Springs 45 miles and hanging around where they're practicing down there at Air Force. But, it's been amazing. I got a chance to call a Rams game and to talk to Sean McVay. And as soon as I got done talking to Sean McVay, I said I would hire him right now. For whatever I need to hire him for, I would hire him. Such a dynamic personality, tied into the football aspect. It's not just about what we're going to do. It's what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, why we're going to do it, and why we're going to be successful doing it that way. And, it is so demonstrative, and he has just been such a dynamic guy. And then surround himself with guys like Wade Phillips, where he just is like, man, I truly believe this. I want to surround myself with smarter people than me because that's what's going to make my football team great. So having the opportunity to be around that guy and see what that has done and what the Rams have been able to accomplish has been eye-opening. I think the other thing for me, Greeny, is, we always asked about where's that next tier of great young quarterbacks, man. We're watching great young quarterbacks develop. Unfortunately, Deshaun Watson is hurt, but we got to see him. What Dak Prescott's been able to do. Obviously, Carson Wentz, Jared Goff that I just talked about. All these years we've been talking about the guys that are elite, the Bradys and the Rodgers and the Breezes, and they're still doing it at such an incredibly high level. But we've got a group of young quarterbacks who are already approaching elite status in their first year, second year, third year, and it's pretty amazing to watch this group of young quarterbacks develop.
One of the other teams, with the young quarterback, Jared Goff, obviously being the team you just talked about, but then you get some of the old-timers as well. And one of the other surprises, I think the two biggest ones in the NFC are certainly the Rams and then the Saints. And you could talk to it from your perspective as an offensive lineman, because I know you guys, and I know you guys would much rather run block than pass block. And here's a team in New Orleans now. You look at last year when Drew Brees threw it 674 times and they ran it just about 400 times. This year they're almost split 50-50. So not only are they more successful, Stink, but I would imagine that group up front, which has to be the most cohesive group out there, has to be very happy going forward out of their stance instead of backward out of their stance more.
Well, there's no question about that, and everybody asks about pass protection. We saw Adrian Claiborne for the Atlanta Falcons get 6 sacks the other day, and apparently they don't have. It just goes to show you how good Tyron Smith is, right? Because apparently they don't have anything that says in their playbook, here's how you help your left tackle, because apparently they never help their left tackle. I mean, I'm watching it going, I felt sorry for the kid. Like you got to have. How about a chip or run a tight end over there? Or how about just not throw the ball? And the best way to protect your quarterback is to never throw the damn thing. And the Saints, at their core, Sean Payton loves to run the football. Remember, now, he's cut from the cloth of Bill Parcells, and he still consults with Bill Parcells, and he's always wanted to run the ball. And you go back to their Super Bowl year, they were like 6th in the league in rushing. Now, 3 different backs did it. And here's the crazy thing. They're doing that, and they're running the ball like they're running it, and they got rid of Adrian Peterson. Like, yeah, you're not, you just don't fit here. Go away. We're going to do it with these guys. And it's a thing of beauty, because to really protect your quarterback and to really be good in pass protection, you have got to, short set. You have got to, have the 5-step drops and the all goes and those things that get the ball out of your hand quickly. But you've got to be able to run the ball, and you've got to have the threat of run in 3rd down and 4. And you know how frustrating it is, Mike, as a defensive lineman, when it's 3rd down and 4 and you're licking your chops and you're ready to you're ready to rush the passer, and all of a sudden you get a shorty trap and you get ear-holed by the opposite guard, and they cut right up underneath you and they get 5 yards on 3rd down and 4, 3rd down and 3, and all you wanted to do was try to get to the quarterback. And so that's a frustrating thing, and it's a way to slow down a pass rush. And the teams that understand that, and this is a day and age, remember, where every rule is bent towards throwing the ball. So, there's a lot of excuses. Most offensive coordinators don't want to run the ball. They just refuse to run the ball. It's not that they can't. And you hear the excuse all the time, well, it's an 8-man box. We got one-on-one on the outside. We got to throw it. No, you don't. You don't have to throw it. You can run the ball, and if you're committed to doing it and doing it the right way, it's amazing how much more lifespan you're going to get out of your quarterback doing it that way. So tip of the cap to Sean Payton and the New Orleans Saints, because they're playing great football right now, and they do. They have great balance.
That's Mark Schlereth, who for 15 years on this show has advocated running the ball.
Yes, he did. Yes, he has.
For all these years. One more on football, and then I just want to get into reminiscing a little bit. But obviously, I have a personal interest in one of the quarterbacks there in Denver. For those that obviously, Stink still lives there. Does the local show there as well. And Trevor Siemian had that starting job for a while and struggled, and they replaced him, and now it's been Osweiler, and that hasn't gone well, and maybe it'll be Paxton Lynch. What is your gut instinct of what the future of the quarterback position is for the Broncos? Next year, week 1, are any of those 3 guys the starting quarterback for the Broncos?
No, they're going to move. I think they're going to move in a different direction, and it looks from where I sit like they've already moved on from Paxton Lynch. I don't know. He's injured right now. It was started off as a 2-week injury, became a 6-week injury. Now it's an 11-week injury, and Vance Joseph said he's still not ready to go. And, it's been disappointing because early in the season, Trevor Siemian, and I really like Trevor Siemian. I think Trevor Siemian's a good quarterback. I think he's a good quarterback. But, like a lot of quarterbacks, like 22, 23 quarterbacks in this league, you've got to support that guy. You cannot just ask that guy to drop back 40 times and throw it. And if he does, he's going to take too many sacks, he's going to get hit too many times, and he's going to throw too many picks regardless of how smart the guy is. And they've gotten out of balance. And part of that for me is 4 different former offensive coordinators. There comes a time when, when you feel like, man, are you calling the game for what you've said, which is we've got to support our quarterback, we've got to run the ball, we've got to be balanced, we've got to set up the play action? Are you a vanity play caller because you see a lot of places that are going to be head coaches, opportunities for you to become a head coach, and are you trying to make a kid do something that he can't do, in order so you can say, hey, look what I did with this 7th rounder, and look at the numbers he put up, and now I'm going to become a head coach, and it is completely backfired because Trevor Siemian got beat to a pulp. To the point where, when you have to check your progression is, hey, check the dude over left tackle, now check the dude over right tackle, now go through your progression, you're never going to have success. And it's unfortunate. We talk about it all the time here in Denver. Hey, we're going to run the ball, we're going to set up the play action. Really? Buffalo, in a game you had the lead in, you threw it 46 times, then the next week you threw it 50 times, and then you've been 37, 40, It just is. It's counterintuitive, and it's exactly the opposite of what you've said all along. And so it's disappointing. The personnel isn't as good as we thought it might be, and the play calling has been shoddy at best. The coaching's been shoddy at best, and it's a disappointing season here in Denver. But, I think to answer your question, none of those guys are going to be starting at the quarterback position next year.
Mark Schlereth with us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. So, okay, now let's get the football out of the way, and we'll work our way over to just a little reminiscing over the course of something in the neighborhood of 15 years.
Yeah.
Mark Schlereth probably hosted this show more times than anyone besides one of us.
Right.
Hosted it with me, hosted it with the two of us for years. And at one time was most famously known on this show and from his role in the soap opera as Rock Hoover. So one last time, let's hear this.
The writing there is just incredible.
Wasn't that genius, Stink?
Yeah.
It was. That was absolutely unbelievable. I haven't heard that in forever. And, the whole nickname, Rock Hoover, for the Guiding Light came from that show. We nicknamed me on the show one morning, and then the folks from the Guiding Light ended up putting it in the script, Rock Hoover. And so that name, very much like my name as a grandfather, Popo, was also created on your guys' show. Like everything I did was created on your guys' show, and they've all stuck. It's like the nickname thing. once you get dubbed with a nickname like Stink, there's no going back. You just have to embrace it and move forward. So yeah, Rock Hoover was the brain trust of yours truly on your program, and that's how that whole thing happened.
You know, among the other things that I will remember fondly forever were you always had these fascinating expressions. You had this way of summing things up, and the one that I remember the most vividly was, you can go to sleep in a bale of hay, but you're going to wake up itchy. Am I getting that one right?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't even know where that came from. There's a lot of things floating around in my head that just fall out that you go like, I don't know exactly where that came from, and I don't remember the context we used that in. But yeah, absolutely, that still rings true today, man. It's like my dad used to say to me all the time when I was a kid. You know, there's no right way to do something wrong, and it always resonated with me. It was always kind of indelibly marked. In the forefront of my brain. So every time I wanted to get over, every time I wanted to do something and take a shortcut, I always heard my dad's voice ringing in my head, hey, Mark, there's no right way to do something wrong. And yeah, you can't wait. You can't go to bed in a bale of hay, but you're going to wake up itchy. That's just there's a guarantee there for you.
You know what it is, though? What time does, it gives you wisdom, because you threw out all those gems on this show, and then you finally figured out, hey, let me put it on a shirt and sell it.
Yeah, that only took me 16 years to figure that out. I'm not real bright. It takes me a while.
Mike and Mark Schlereth, the guys are telling me they want to hear the toughness story one last time. All right. So one of my favorite memories, and this is when we were doing the show, What is the building on the other side of the cafeteria? The one that we used to do the show when we were like temporarily in there.
Building 5.
Building 5. And that was, parenthetically, that was the one that we used to run out during one of our longest breaks to the cafeteria, you and I.
Yes, we
and
would.
one time you pulled you fell down and hurt your hip or something.
I did.
All of a sudden I'm behind. I hear Golic go, I got a hip, and you're done.
I fell down.
But anyway, so Stink and I are doing the show together. And I've always been fascinated by his toughness. Like, Stink is a tough man. Like, he's got the porcelain skin of a China doll.
Yes.
He's the handsomest person you've ever seen in your life. But he is tough. And so we walk into the men's room during a break one time, and I said to him, Stink, I've never been tough. What's it like to be tough? And he goes, Greeny, I will tell you right now. I will tell you exactly what it is to be tough. And he walks up to the urinal, and the pants go down to the ankles, and the shorts go down to the ankles. And he turns to me and he says, anyone in this building could walk in here right now, and they're not going to say a damn thing. And I said, that is the best explanation I've ever heard in my life, because he's 100% right. If I'd walked in, I'd have been like, hey, Stink, nice butt, good to see you. How are you? If I do that, forget about it. So that Stink was a moment I will never forget.
Yeah, some of the fun we had and some of the idiotic things I do, it was always fun, and being with you guys has just been a blessing for me. Being a part of your program forever has been a blessing to me and to my family, and you guys are dear friends. And some of the best moments, that I've had in my broadcasting career happened on your show, and just from moments like that to milking a cow and the cow took a dump on you, Green, still one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me in my career. The whole thing has been awesome, and I owe you guys a debt of gratitude, and I just really appreciate the friendship and appreciate all the years, man. We did that show together, 16 years at ESPN. 15 years, and it started, you remember, in Building 5, it started every Friday. I'd be on for all 4 hours, and we're just doinking around in that little tiny studio, having a blast, talking football, and it's just been, like I said, it's been a true blessing. It's been so much fun.
Listen, and any success this show has had, you have been a big part of it. There's no doubt about that, and we will never forget that as we move on from this, and you've moved on and now and doing a great job in the booth for Fox. So we'll have some great memories, no doubt about it, and friendships to last. So we certainly do appreciate it.
Yeah, Mark. To you and Lisa and Alex and Avery and Daniel and the whole family. Popo, we love you. Yeah. Thank you very much, Stink.
Thanks, Mark.
Hey, guys, I love you too, man. You've truly blessed me, so I appreciate you guys. Love you guys, and we'll talk soon.
All right, you got
thanks,
it.
Stink.
We'll see you soon. Mark Schlereth with us. after all these years. He is such a good guy.
He is a good guy, yes.
And that story is one that is so indelibly burned into my brain because, what can you say? It was just
he's had great stories like that
when
he pees his pants on the sideline, which a number of offensive linemen do, but when he had to actually go in after peeing his pants, go back in the game. And
the legendary bang your helmet thing I forgot about. Remember the time?
Yeah.
Who was the kicker? The idiot kicker who got liquored up, as Peyton called him.
We should have that.
Mike Vanderjagt, and he got mad. And Stink just went crazy.
Yeah.
And then remember, Stink was mad. I'm remembering all these things. He was mad that he didn't have a sponsor. So Joaquin came up with a sponsor called Scrote.
Yes.
Do you remember that? and we can't tell the punchline of the story because we were only allowed to air that once.
No, we can't. That's all,
once it aired, we were told never to air it again.
Don't air that again.
But it was very funny.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Home isn't just a place, it's a feeling. Whether you're at home, your business, or online, ADT helps keep you safe. With security systems, home automation, alarms, and surveillance, so you can feel at home, wherever you are. Go to ADT.com to get that feeling. ADT. Home. Safe home.
Okay, I mentioned that we got the good college hoops tonight. Michigan State and Duke leads it off, number 1 against number 2. And, of course, the Michigan State coach is Tom Izzo, who has been a great friend to us over many years. I know that he's constantly texting you mad things at me.
Yes, he is. He does it a lot.
He's angry at me every other day. But who else? Who isn't? But anyway, we had a chance to chat with him yesterday about tonight's game and just to reminisce. Enjoy. All right, coming up 7 Eastern on ESPN as the college basketball season is underway. You can't ask for any better than this. Number 1 against number 2. It's Duke against Michigan State. And here to chat is our longtime friend of the show, the beloved Tom Izzo, head coach of the Spartans, back with us on Mike and Mike. Good morning, Coach.
Only beloved is my wife, and that's only sometimes, so I don't know where the beloved came. But thanks, guys. It's great to be on. Great day for us, and I don't know if it's as great a day for you guys. My son and I grew up watching you, and Mike Golic, I saw a picture today of you on the set with your family that you sent. My God. That means I grew as old as you did. That's scary.
That really is. That was from 1998. We're gonna recreate that one on Friday and leave it to you. Such a friend of the show. We love you, and so we were trying to have our shine all week. And here you go, doing 1 against 2. In this game to kind of take the spotlight off of us. Really appreciate that.
No, we're heading to it. Hopefully, you guys will do a lot on it. That's all we're looking for. But we're going back to your adopted city, Greeny, and Chicago's been a great place, and it'll be an incredible, electrifying crowd there with all the alums from all the 4 schools.
Let's talk about what you get out of early season games like this. We've talked about it a lot as we're coming to the end of the college football season and how much weight we should put on early season games because the teams were still figuring out who they were and all of that. How about in your sport? What do you get out of a game like this against a team like Duke?
Well, I think that we get a lot out of it. The problem with basketball, it's even different than football, and I know Mike Greenberg and I are kind of struggling today because both our teams got beat this weekend. But, I think in basketball, everybody's so young, it seems like, I mean, it can happen in football, but not to the level it does in basketball. So I think what it does more than anything is it kind of shows you how hard you got to play, whether you win or lose, and it shows you what your warts are, and it gives you something to work for. The advantage of basketball over football is, these 1 or 2 losses doesn't cripple you like it does in football. If you lose them, if you win them, then you kind of got to build on what you've done and keep your guys level-headed.
So in this situation, though, in your opener that you already played against North Florida, you had your 5 starters were all freshmen and sophomores. So Are you the type of coach, because I've certainly had this done to me over years, if you get a win in this game, you kind of mute it, to use your word, and kind of maybe be extra critical just so, they don't get a little too big-headed? You kind of keep them down?
Well, yeah, that's when you Nick Saban and make sure that there's not a lot of noise out there in the media isn't saying how good we are. But, hopefully, even though we're really young, we got the 4 sophomores and a freshman starter, but we've been through some stuff with those sophomores last year, struggled to get into the tournament, I think partly because of all the injuries. So they know the other side of the coin, They know what it's like to be there was a lot of humility for our program last year in some of the games we lost. So I'm hoping that they're going to handle it either way, but I think the big thing is our motto's been this year, can we get better every day? Hey, we might be pretty good and lose. We might be pretty good and win, but can we get better every day? Because especially in basketball, the goal is to get to be great in March.
Coach, because we have you here, and you're well aware it's our last week together, one of the things we wanted to do is just take a moment to reminisce. You have been such a great friend to both of us over all of these years, always so much fun. And as I think back on my favorite memory over all the years, there was the year that you had a huge game against Duke, ironically, that was set up in the NCAA tournament that was going to decide the bracket wager between Golic and me, and you came out and you told us that your son picked Duke in that game, and that to me remains one of the funniest moments we've ever had in the history of the show.
Yeah, funny to you. My son was right. It hasn't been funny to me, and it definitely hasn't been funny to him since that thing. He's still looking to eat his first meal. But, guys, I got to admit, I'm going to miss both of you. I wish you both luck in the way you're doing it. But when I say I grew up, more importantly, my son did grow up with all those 6:30 in the morning, lay in bed with Dad and watch Mike, and you guys have brought so much to the sporting world, and I humbly say I appreciate everything you've done and the way you've done it. And if I can get you, Greeny, to get and make sure that Twitter isn't the most important invention in the world, because that would be my thing that I remember most about you, then we're going to have a better place out here, all right?
Oh, I love that.
How many times has he yelled at me? How many times has Tom Izzo yelled at me?
Yes, he has.
About social media.
It's been, and God, we love having you on the show, and we'll look to continue on each of our shows to have you on as well. But, one about you, 23 years at Michigan State, you're in the Basketball Hall of Fame, you won a national championship. What do you look to still accomplish? What is there for Tom Izzo?
Oh, God, guys, there's so much to accomplish. Just my opponent tonight, and Duke, every time I think I've done something, he got 1,000 wins the other night at Duke. If I count my wins in games, in practices, and in intramurals and anything else that I don't have 1,000 wins, and he's got them all at one school is just incredible. So there's always people that you look at, my good friend Nick Saban, what he's accomplished. There's so many things yet to do, and I'm just lucky I still get a chance to do it, but I'm still excited about it. The drive's still there, and we got a good team, but there's a lot of good teams out there, and that's what makes tonight so exciting. Just like for you guys, you're going to have different years now, but I bet you both of you are very successful because of the jobs you've done over these years.
Well, that's so nice of you to say. And listen, again, we can't thank you enough for all the years and all the fun, and it will continue, but it seems like the right time. Good luck in this game, and good luck with a terrific season. Hopefully we'll see you in the Final Four, if not before. Thank you very much for everything, Tom Izzo.
Thanks, Coach.
Hey, Greeny, let me ask you this, because we played Notre Dame for only the second time in basketball in 30 years this year. Would you set up the bet between me and Golic so that he has to eat, fire-breathing dragons or something good with Jamal or something on that night? Would you do that for me?
Come on, let's do it.
No.
You got a pie in the face for Magic Johnson?
I gotta see how we're playing first.
I'll put a word in. We'll see what we can do. Thank you, Coach.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot, guys.
Love that man.
He's a great guy. That was Tom Izzo. We recorded that yesterday. And again, big night tonight. It's number 1 Duke and number 2 Michigan State and the State Farm Champions Classic, Kentucky and Kansas in the later game, and it's all on the ESPN and the ESPN app.
He was a guy, listen, you just didn't bet against when they were in the tournament. You know, I always had them going pretty darn far each time because, man, he was money. You know, when you needed it, he was money.
He is a great coach,
yep.
and he's a great person.
He is. Yep.
We have both gotten to know him a little bit off the air, and he's everything good. I remember when there was a flirtation, and I don't know that it was on his part,
right.
but the pro teams have gone after him heavily, particularly Cleveland went after him heavily. And I said the same thing about him that I said about Mike Krzyzewski. The world is a better place with those guys coaching in college.
Yep.
You know, we need that. We need Tom Izzo's in college. We need Mike Krzyzewski's in college and those kinds of guys.
And, again, staying at the one spot. You know, there is something to that. I mentioned it yesterday, you know, with Tennessee opening up and Florida opening up, what coaches move around. I brought up a guy like Bill Snyder, who is an icon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's, as I said, in Kansas State, when my son just did that game, you drive to the stadium on a road named after him. You look at a statue of him there, and you're playing a stadium with his name on it. He chose to stay there and is a living icon to that place and what he's done. I mean, it's just good for college when you see that.
And he was elevated. I mean, he wasn't a guy who came from someplace else.
Right.
He was Judd Heathcote's assistant. And Heathcote was the guy who legendarily coached Magic and that championship team and everything else.
Yep.
And so he had a lot of success, but Izzo has taken it to an entirely new level.
Absolutely has.
The Michigan State basketball, with the exception of the Johnson and Kelser, that team, and they had other really good teams, but Tom Izzo has made them a year in, year out national powerhouse in an entirely different way. And I think he's been in as many Final Fours as just about anybody besides Coach K. Okay, Mike and Mike, on we go with the news of the day, and we'll mix in a little more fun. Mark Cuban later today to reminisce with us a little bit. Lewis Riddick will join us. Bomani Jones will join us. A busy Monday. Excuse me. It was a really busy Monday yesterday.
It was. Now it's Tuesday.
Now it's Tuesday.
That's how it works.
Kind of working badly.
Just say something that ends in a Y. You'll be close.
Okay.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I'm so happy, I feel like I can fly.
Disclaimer, you will not be able to fly by switching to Geico. This is against the laws of physics and nature. If you find yourself flying, please seek professional and or medical help immediately. In the unlikely event you find yourself flying, you might be a superhero, or a pigeon, or a superhero named Pidgewoman, who was bitten by a radioactive pigeon. If you are indeed Pidgewoman, Geico retains all licensing publishing rights in the event Pidgewoman the movie becomes a top-grossing Hollywood blockbuster.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
All the Twitter reaction flying in on a variety of different subjects. Go look, what are you reading?
Yeah, and again, you know, just people that have listened to the show for so long. This tweet, I started listening while I was in college. 17 years later, you're on my TV while I get my 8-year-old son ready for school. Thanks for being the entertaining part of my bleary-eyed mornings. That's just, it's so wild when you just think about all the stages, you know, that people have gone through, whether it's kids. I mean, your first kid was born the first year, Nicole, during the first year of our show. So obviously 18 years of stages of going through it. It really is incredible.
She'll be 8. She's driving now. She's driving up here on Friday for our last show. And your kids, I mean, Jake, I'll never forget, was here on Bring Your Son to Work Day, or Bring Your Child to Work Day, whatever, our first year. And he sat in the studio with us.
Yeah, he did.
He talked on the air a little bit. And then I was at his wedding. Well, he got married.
Yes.
Forgetting that I was at his wedding, but he got married this year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was 9, and, you know, when we started, and you know, now he's a husband.
The passage of time.
So it has, you know. Yeah. And look, we made a decision very early in this show, to some controversy. No, controversy is too strong a word. A lot of people didn't like it, that we were going to make our families part of what we did. That we were going to talk about our wives, your kids, and subsequently mine. And that was just going to be a part of what we did. And a lot of people didn't like it. A lot of people criticized us for it. And, you know, that was that generation's stick to sports.
Yeah, it was.
As opposed to what it is now.
What it is now. There's always something at stick to sports, isn't there?
And so, but we decided we were going to do it. That was going to be what it's going to be. And so as a consequence, I do understand that a lot of people feel as though they know us and they know our families more intimately than you might with some other shows.
Well, you hear from so many people when they do meet us, it's like, I feel I've known you before I even met you, you know, because we do. We have laid our lives out there, and we're happy we did it, and we're happy we're able to share it with everybody.
Hey, guys, Dan Patrick here. Just want to say congratulations. Unbelievable run, and nobody has earned retirement like you two guys. So congratulations, riding off into the sunset. Greeny's got his own show? Good God. Greeny, good luck with the new show. Golic, you know, you get to spend time with your wife and going to Notre Dame games, and congrats in retirement. And I know you're still going to be doing the radio show, and if you need a host, I'd be more than happy to help out until you find somebody. That's kind of And you and Trey Wingo are going to make for a great show. And congratulations to both of you.
Oh, that was awesome.
That is really good.
He started doing radio here when I was doing the show with Tony Bruno.
Yep.
Before you came onto the scene. Tony and I were doing the mornings, and Dan started doing his show in the afternoon. And obviously, his legendary with him and Keith Olbermann on SportsCenter without question, and obviously has a fantastic career going now as well. But that was
really
pure,
funny.
That was pure Dan Patrick right there.
He's so good. Yes, he is. And when we started this show, when I started with you, the lineup on ESPN Radio was the two of us into Tony Kornheiser into Dan Patrick, which was pretty good. Dan and Keith, I've said it many times, were my idols. They were the reason I wanted to come to ESPN. I think an entire generation of young sportscasters at that time in the 90s, we all wanted to be Keith and Dan. I mean, they were so cool and so smart and so good. And so that when I came here, I was on ESPN News, and I wanted to be on SportsCenter, and they started moving me to SportsCenter. So when they brought me in here to fill in with you, and we immediately hit it off, they offered me the job, and I turned it down.
You didn't want to do it because you just started on SportsCenter.
I was like, I want to be Keith and Dan.
Yeah.
And
I don't want to be with this guy.
Yeah.
With this fatty.
Listen, if you had told me that we were going to get 18 months out of this, I would have said, that sounds about right. 18 years, you got to be crazy. And the industry has totally changed. There's a lot of reasons why it went that way.
There is. But I mean, I get asked that a lot in all the interviews we're doing as this is going to end is, did you think it would last this long? No. I mean, you hope that it can be successful. It's just like when I was playing football. When I made it to the NFL, I hoped to play a long time, but you can't put an end date on it. Just like with the show, we couldn't put an end date on it, but we certainly didn't think it would be 18 years.
Oh, hell no. No, my God, no. Yeah. And the notion that any of the things, I mean, it's just hard to believe. From where we started, I would love to go back and do like the last show from that booth, but it doesn't exist anymore.
No, it doesn't.
That whole building has been remodeled, I think, 4 times. But anyway, Dan, thank you very much.
That was classic
very
Dan
funny.
There. That was very, very good. SportsCenter is brought to you by Pennzoil Synthetics. This time of year is for performance. Winter is coming, but with cold start protection and excellent performance in extreme temperatures, Pennzoil Synthetics with Pure Plus technology keeps your engine purring, so you'll know winter is coming isn't as ominous as it sounds. Make the switch today at your nearest Advance Auto Parts location.
Okay, there's a quick story here that I want to get in, because I'm really curious to hear your take, because you are a longtime former NFL player, and you have done football games over many years, college and pro, and very, very well, and if I had to bet on it, I would bet you're going to do them again. And so let's make this Straight Talk brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contracts. Did you see an idea that is an interesting one? So Fox has asked Greg Olsen, the Carolina Panthers, who have their bye week this coming Sunday, to do a game.
Right.
He's an active player. He's hurt. He's been hurt much of this year, but he can come back.
Yes.
And either way, he is still a part of the team. You saw him on the sideline last night.
Panthers,
on the Carolina Panthers. They've asked him to be the analyst on a broadcast of a game while he's still an active player. He's going to broadcast Vikings-Rams next week in Minneapolis. The Vikings have a problem with this because they play Carolina later this season.
Right.
So the idea is that they're going to have this guy into the facility. I mean, the way this traditionally works, and I've only done a little bit of it, but you would know.
Yeah, I've got a good story about you when we did this.
But here's going to come Greg Olsen, who in theory is going to meet with the coaches. He's going to ask a lot of questions. He's going to be entitled to some information that is proprietary in order to broadcast the game. And now that's a team that his own team for which he actively plays, they're going to play each other December 10th, so 3 weeks hence.
Yeah.
So what do you make of it? The Vikings are protesting this.
2 things.
And I kind of get it.
2 things. Number one, you cannot have them go to the Vikings facility and talk to the Vikings. It's going to be a 3-man booth, right? It's not just going to be him and a play-by-play. So you can have him not go into the Vikings. And number 2, if he does, if I were the Vikings, I would just say, listen, if Greg Olsen's sitting in the meetings, you're going to – now, you don't normally – you have to understand these production meetings, the value of them I question at times because everybody in the world is in there. And not many coaches feel great about spilling all kind of information with everybody in the room there, right? That's why I would always call coaches one-on-one. I found I got a better relationship and get more out of coaches by talking with them one-on-one or seeing them on the field one-on-one before the game than in this big meeting room. But I would just flat out say, if I were the Vikings, listen, if Greg Olson's in the meetings, we're telling you, we're going to give you 3-word answers. I mean, we're just not giving you anything. I mean, I could see them being upset, and it could easily be rectified. Don't let them come to our facility, or we're just not going to give you a lot of answers. I think that's easily solved. I wouldn't, get too crazy mad about it. Just don't give them any information. I wouldn't find a problem with that.
In a world, however, where, these guys find problems with everything, they're always looking for any little tiny advantage or disadvantage, I can see them being concerned about it. I think over the years there has been that concern. I think they've moved past it. But I think there was a time when they would have been worried about telling John Gruden anything if they were going to be playing against his brother's team.
Oh, it's exactly right.
Or many of the other kinds of stories like that. So we'll make that Straight Talk Wireless nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE network.
When we did the second of the Monday Night Football games, and we did that a couple of times, that was your first NFL game. Your first NFL.
But the story you're about to tell, if I'm thinking of the right one, was an Arena Football League game.
No. This was NFL.
Okay.
We talked to one team.
Right.
And then when we went to talk to the other team, when we talked to that other team, one of the first things you brought up was when we just talked to the other team, they said this, and I was just like, Green, you don't do that. You can't do that. You don't go to one meeting and then go to the next team and tell them what the other team said. You can't do that.
Yeah.
It was, and you didn't know.
No.
It wasn't your fault, but it was just funny to hear.
I also remember going to the 49ers practice before we did one of their games, and the coach, who was Mike Nolan, came over to us and said, guys, what you see here stays here. And I remember thinking to myself, all I'd be able to report from watching this practice is sometimes they seem to run the ball, and other times they throw it.
Yes.
That was all I picked up from watching practice.